Hey everyone, it's Master Berkey here with ATA Tournaments 101, What to Know Before Competing. The number one question we get asked about tournaments as instructors is my child ready to compete? So we're going to do a small 10-minute or less video today just to make sure that you have all the information you need for your first tournament. Number one, why go to a tournament? Tournaments are one of the favorite things that I have in martial arts because they boost your confidence regardless of how you do. As long as you're coming into it with the understanding of, I am going to learn from my triumphs and my mistakes, tournaments are a great way to gauge your training and to understand how to improve. You will get to meet new people and make new friends from across the country. Those of you who don't know, I actually met my wife, Mrs. Master Berkey, at a tournament event. So you may even meet someone who will change your life for the better. You'll get to increase your students' motivation to train because along with belts, there's a separate reason to move forward. There might be a friend they have as a rival, or they're trying to meet a personal goal like winning that gold medal. They will get inspired by fellow competitors. I know for myself personally, being able to see some of the other masters across the country show off the best pieces of our art of Taekwondo makes me want to be a better participant myself, a better competitor, and a better instructor. And finally, tournaments are just a lot of fun. Everyone has a different piece that they like more than others. Some like the socialization, others like the competition, some even like to be stressed. But whatever your cup of tea is, there is a thing for you at tournaments, and we would highly recommend that you experience this as early as possible. Now, a big question is always, is it safe to compete? And what I would tell you is that it is safer than most sporting events. Can we guarantee that it'll be 100% safe? Absolutely not. We can't do that at a soccer or basketball game either. But it is more safe than most sporting events. Your division will be broken down into age groups, rank groups, and if your camouflage belts are higher, by gender groups as well. The other thing that I think is really important is that ATA is a closed tournament circuit. And what that means is that every instructor in that event holds the same values of teaching kids about confidence, discipline, and respect. There's no Cobra Kai, coming to try to, sweep the leg and hurt the other person. That's just unheard of in an ATA martial arts tournament. So it's one of the ways that we can keep everyone safe. Mats are provided for every tournament that you go to, and in addition, every instructor that you see is CPR certified, and there will be at least one EMT med tech on hand to help with any emergencies. The biggest question we get is, when should we start? Is my child ready? And I would say the earlier, the better. And I can speak from this from experience. My first tournament I did as an adult second degree black belt. And having to jump into competition so late into my martial arts career set me incredibly behind. It took me nearly 2 years to actually place in an event because I just didn't have the experience that most of my competitors had. Now, obviously, that has been overcome since then. We compete at a high world champ level. But the earlier that you start tournaments, the better. If you are a white belt and you've been in the school for 2 months, perfect. Now's a great time to start. If your child is a 4-year-old tiny tiger, best time to start. If you're an adult who has never competed before, even if you're a black belt like I was, it is better to start now than it will be a year from now. So take the chance. I promise you won't regret it. Number two, if you are ready for testing, you are probably ready for tournament. Most likely, you are more than ready for tournament because testing standards from school to school are usually more stringent than what the tournament expects. So the same type of form that you're learning, the same type of weapon that you're doing, sparring like you do in class, those are all things that will help get you ready for the tournament circuit. Now, even if you are not ready for testing, you may still be ready for tournament. There may be something that your instructor is looking for from your personal improvement or a school requirement that is not needed to compete at a tournament. So even if you don't have all the stripes on your belt and you're like, man, I'm not ready to test this time, tournament can be a great way to keep up motivation and training while you are meeting those other obstacles and hurdles. You can pick from your favorite events. There's form, sparring, weapons, and combat weapon sparring. And then you can even learn how to make up your own routines with creative and XMA events. Those are for a little bit later. You can ask your instructor about those once you started competing in the other traditional events. The next thing that you can think about is choosing what division is right for you. Number one, If your student is in the Tiny Tiger program, they have a division just for them. It is less about competing and earning a first, second, or third place, and more about the experience of public performance. It gets them used to being in front of judges, being out there with friends and competitors, and learning to show off their moves without being fearful. This is an incredible skill to have as an adult, let alone as a 4, 5, and 6-year-old. So if you have a Tiny Tiger, this is a great opportunity to learn how to compete in a low pressure environment and get them ready for the other divisions. Now, as you're a junior or an adult competitor, you can decide between we call it the recreational novice division or the competitive championship division. Either one can be fine for a first time competitor. It just depends on what your goals are. In the championship division, you will have all the competitors that are going for a bigger reason. They might be competing because they want first place. They might be competing because they're trying to earn a state champion, district champion, world championship title. If you go to a Class A tournament, especially, you may have some competitors that have even flown in from other states like Texas or Florida, California, Chicago, in order to be at that event because they are really competitive about wanting to get first place. You may also have students that are local that are just, really pushing themselves to try something new. The recreational novice division is for competitors who want the tournament experience, but maybe not so much of the pressure yet. You don't have to do an entire form in the recreational novice division. So our school, like many others across the ATA, do half forms to move on from belt to belt. Now, every school has its own reason for doing this. For us, it's just because we want to spend more time teaching you how to punch and kick correctly versus learning how to turn one way or the other. That being said, if you don't know the full ATA form, you can still compete in the recreational novice division, whether you know a full half form, or even just a quarter form, or even just 3 or 4 moves. In the recreational novice division, you are not being judged on the memorization that you have, but just on your technique. Now, again, if you're in the competitive division, you're going to want to make sure that you have your full form from beginning to end. So ask your instructor if you already know that or if you need to learn a little bit more. The divisions like weapons and sparring and combat are currently not different at all. So you can pick whichever division fits you best if those are your favorite events. Now, in order to make it a great experience pre-game, first thing I would recommend is setting 1 or 2 very small achievable goals. Is it just to get out there and not throw up? Is it to get through your whole form? Is it to place? Is it to not forget a specific turn? I would recommend having 2. That way, if you miss the one, it doesn't feel like a failure. You always have something that you can say, you know what? I really did that. I would recommend practicing just a little bit every day. Don't try to cram it all in at the end. That gets really stressful, not just for the students, but for the parents as well. A little practice every day will go a long way. And as a bonus, if your school has a competition class, make sure to try to attend those once in a while. And getting a private lesson can be a phenomenal way to just set you heads and tails up in your training, because there are things that are important for a tournament that may not be as important for class. Finally, as you set your pregame, register as soon as possible so that you can reduce your decision anxiety. If you're deciding whether or not you want to compete, there's a lot of energy that goes in that process. So once you've registered, you can focus on your training. And then when you arrive at the tournament, arrive early and find your school section. I know at Star Martial Arts, we have a banner that goes up that has our logo on it, and we try to have all of our students go to that section because it gives them a little bit of an environment where they feel more comfortable, they have friends that they can hang around with, and then go out and meet some new people. Enjoy the event and prepare. Watch your instructors compete if you get a chance. Find a practice spot and do your form facing the way the judges' chairs face. That'll just make sure that you're oriented to your space. And then listen for your call. So, for example, if you're Tiny Tigers, you'll be listening for all Tiny Tigers, come to staging. Or if you're a 9-year-old green belt, you might hear, we need all 12 and under camouflage green and purple belts to come to the staging area. The call will happen multiple times, but being around students that you know will help you guys all listen together. Now, once you are in the ring, introduce yourself and feel free to let the judges know that it's your first time competing. They are not going to give you any special treatment, but they might walk you through the process a little bit more. Most judges will even ask this at the beginning of the ring. Try not to stress when you're in the tournament. Remember, it's not about winning, it's about learning. And it doesn't matter how you do, there is always something to learn. Watch and cheer for everyone. Parents, this is so important too. Cheer for them like they are your children. Cheer for them like they're your favorite football team. Because if you cheer louder for your favorite team on Sunday afternoon, your kids notice that you don't cheer that loud for them or for others. It's one of those self-esteem things where if they know that you are all in for them, it doesn't matter how they do, they know that their parents are proud of them. And then make sure that you walk away learning something new. Parent tips, things we'd recommend, write down the scores. It just makes sure that you kind of have a feel for how your kids are doing. Set the example for your children in the way that you behave. If you get frustrated at the judges, they're going to get frustrated with you when they're upset with a decision that you've made. If you get upset with them for not performing well, they're going to get even more upset with themselves. So just set that positivity to make sure that this is a experience that they want to repeat. Promote the goals that you have. And these are not your tournament goals. These are the overall martial arts goals. You got your kids in Taekwondo for confidence, discipline, focus, respect. Don't lose sight of that as you're in the regular tournament. And finally, if you don't understand, just ask. The judges will let you know what's going on in the ring. Finally, post game, to make it a great experience, celebrate whatever it was you accomplished, big or small. Shake everyone's hand and tell them that they did a great job. Write down at least one thing that you want to work on. Writing it down will help you remember. That way you don't repeat the same experience over and over. My favorite quote is, have you had 15 years of experience or 1 year of experience 15 times? We want to make sure that every competition we learn and grow to something new. And then find the next tournament, set your date, register early, and be ready for that one. Parent tips: tell your kids what they did well at the tournament. Don't critique them unless they ask. You may know 100 things that they did wrong, and your kids honestly don't care. And you can tell them, and they're not going to listen. Unless they tell you, Mom, what can I fix? Dad, what could I improve on? They're not ready to take in that information yet. So give them time and space until they ask you. Start some kind of family tradition. Do you go out to dinner after the tournament? Do you meet with some friends? Do you always, go out for a donut ahead of time? Make it something more than just about the 15 minutes of experience. And then finally, find a friend to bring along. That way your kids aren't experiencing this on their own. I hope you learned something today in our Tournament 101. If you have any questions, please talk to your chief instructor and program director so they can get you set up for their next competition. Have a great day, everybody.